Hey guys, welcome to July issue of Patreon sample packs and presets. So in this video I want to talk about how to use all these samples that I'm making to your advantage, and presets of course. Unfortunately, I noticed that, people tend to download thousands and thousands of samples and presets, and I've seen guys who have like huge libraries of Teddy Killers and surgical sound presets and sample packs, but you guys really don't know how to use them, so you just keep downloading all the time, and what ends up happening is your dopamine system is just so cracked and cooked that you just don't understand what's good anymore. That's like, you're like confused, like, oh, I have so many presets and samples and I don't know how to use them. Well, you have to consciously limit yourself. You have to understand that this is all that you have. Like, you just put yourself in that mode where you have like 50 or maybe 100 samples, and that's all you have for work, and at all costs you have to make it work. And I'm going to actually show you what technical things you can do to use samples to your advantage. So I have this little drum loop right here that I'm going to show you guys. Just listen to this a couple of times. It's just a normal drum and bass loop. Most people would overlook it, but this is actually a full multi-layered, very like specifically compressed, very specifically EQ'd, and very specifically matched in loudness, full drum set loop that I used in one of my collabs with DeLorean that we're working on right now. So here is the actual context to this drum loop. Let me show you guys. So you can hear that the whole drum loop, that is the drum loop. So you pretty much could just drop it in your track. And if you made the music around this particular drum loop work, then you don't really have to edit much. So the question is, what is it that makes you feel uncomfortable using samples, and how you can actually use them? So, while this demo is obviously an unfinished track, and there's it's gonna sound way different when it's released, trust me guys, but like, the drum loop is pretty much, the drums are done. Like, I'm not going to go into them. They sound really good. Point is, when you're using samples, the ones that I've created, right? You go on Patreon, there will be samples that are actual full drum loops from Viper releases, Liquidity releases, Rhythmic releases. So one way of using them is to measure out how powerful your drum loops should be, so you can use them as a reference. So say you're starting your own drum loop, you can just drop this one right here, and then you can start dropping your own kicks and snares and just going back and forth, referencing A, B, and kind of like understanding where should my noise percussion be, how loud should my snare be, stuff like that. That's one way of using it. The other way of using it is that most people really don't understand how to use the big drum loops like this, like full drum loops, and they just kind of end up not using them at all, which is, that's around 50% of all people I've ever been working on. They don't understand a very simple concept, that you can use them for top loops. You can just open the EQ, use a pretty hard high pass cut, and just cut out everything, like, let's say below like 1000 hertz, right? And then you can just slap in your own kick drum, whatever kick drum you like. I'm just being a little bit all over the place, using like random samples at the moment, just to show you that even with no effort, my samples work. So like, I mean, probably a bunch of other artists' samples work in the same way as well. My point is not to like convince you that my samples specifically work. My point is that, if you're going after a specific type of sound, say you want to sound like Pyropus, and you go to Pyropus Patreon and you get their samples, chances are these samples already work and you don't have to really go hard and modify everything. You just have to know how to use those samples. So we'll use the main drum loop, which we know that works, just for the tops, because we know that the amount of high end, the amount of transients is just enough, because it's proven to have been used by an artist, right? So then we'll just get a snare and just test a couple of snares out to see which one we like more. I mean, sure. Let's see, maybe we can use some other one. Yep, sure, we made our choice. Now let's just drop in what is called driving percussion. You remember, guys, I told you that the percussion that is basically developing the transients of the kicks and the snares, it should be played at 1/8 speed of a bar, so it's not like super fast, and it doesn't have the that annoying shakers like you hear here. It's going to be twice slower. It's going to be bump, 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 bump all the time. And those are in my other samples, which are also available on my Patreon, or you can find a bunch of them online. The point is that you want to use samples very specifically which have 1/8 speed and no in between super small shakers, because those shakers are bringing too much heat, while this is just what you need. Or something like this, right? That's just what you need. That will make your groove so much more interesting, so much more alive. Let's just play that A-B. So you basically create the whole massive movement of the drums. And on top of that, I usually slap some like a noise ride, something like that. Not particularly this. Something like this. Or something like this. And yeah, pretty much you got yourself a drum loop that works, and you kind of don't have to overthink it that much. It's like, just use the samples that you trust from the source that you trust. Use a couple of driving percussion layers, a bunch, like maybe 1-2 noise layers. Maybe create like a classic shaker, or what I call like an open main hat, something like this. And you can go with it. You don't really need much. So that's kind of where you should start. And you know, if you want to create something different, and you're not satisfied, you just drop in a different drum loop into this like top break, because now it's a top break, right? You just take a full drum loop, drop this one in, and you can keep replacing that until you're satisfied with the effect you're getting. To my ear, everything sounds good. So like all these samples work. You shouldn't overlook the opportunity to use them, because like I'm actually always, most of the times I'm creating packs for myself, and then I'm releasing music with them. And at the same time, as I'm signing my songs, I'm sharing those samples with you guys. So like that's kind of how it works. Now let's look at a couple of synths, and let's maybe start off by creating like a basic lead melody. I just did a couple of interesting leads. This is like a more classic one. It's something that you hear a lot nowadays, but this one is even more old school. So this is something that's, you know, has been popularized by like Subfocus and Pendulum back in like 2005, or even earlier than that. It's like a Reese bass that is used as a synth, kind of. Now, let me see if there's anything we can do to make a little cool melody. That sounds pretty nice. Let's just keep it rolling. That sounds pretty decent. No mixing, no balancing. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about using the samples to create like stylish and fashionable, modern type of sound. And sometimes using those old school saw leads, it might sound dated, sure, but sometimes it's cool because you can add a different lead on top of it and like kind of like create a copy layer and see how that sits in the mix. Let's try a different lead. There's a bunch of leads to choose from, so you can kind of play around almost infinitely. So those two kind of like work with each other. Now let's just kind of put them together in one mixer track, and I'll kindly remind you guys that you should high pass those because there will be like a lot of, you can hear there's quite like a bassy fundament in these sounds, so you want to kind of steer away from that and kind of focus more on like 10, 11, 12, 13K. You could add a bit more reverb and whatever, but yeah, that doesn't matter at this moment. So that's kind of what you got. Now let's just slap some big bass after the lead stops playing, so we kind of like have some continued groove. Or you could actually like create a groove with a couple of leads, so one of them stops playing, the other one starts. Let's choose some different preset. Oh yeah. So like all these presets are available and you can download them right now. So like all of this is not like a clickbait. No, none of this is me trying to sell something that I have barely any faith in. This is my life work, and I'm giving you the opportunity to join my Patreon and use that to your advantage. There is so much stuff in there. Now we got like a really cool Reese. We got like a lead one. We got like, and guys, I'm just doing an X prompt. I'm not even like, this is not a setup. I'm just randomizing around. All these samples are they are that good. You can use them like that. Just randomize around. And if there's any tip you can I can give you from this point right here, is that try to focus more on the groove, because you already got the good sounds. Once you actually get these packs, like you have everything you need, and you have to come to that conclusion consciously. I have all the instruments, let's just make them work. It's almost like, this is the way that I explain it to my students. Most people nowadays, they are good at sound design because they learn from YouTube. And when they join my mentorship program, I force a lot of people to buy MIDI keyboards, because they really have like all the coolest sounds in the world, but they have no idea what to do with them. So instead, use basic sounds that I've already provided to you with. Don't go for the cool, overly complicated design. You are way, way, way off. Like, you're way far away from getting to that level where you understand how to use them. Use basic samples, basic presets, and make them work. That's your job. So you can see this groove right here, it's very simple, but because I've worked thousands of hours, thousands and thousands of hours with my students for a year and a half, one-on-one mentorship, I already can tell you for sure, dude, like 95% of my students cannot make a groove as simple as this synth right here. It's simple, but it's not easy to get there, to kind of start feeling the cadence of the melody. So instead of focusing on the presets and all those, like, use the most basic ones, which I, as someone who teaches full-time, I've provided you with, and I kind of know exactly what you need in that regard, like for dance, for drum and bass. You just use those basic ones and try to make the groove work on you. So it's like kind of like you have all the cool instruments, now make the musicians, make the drummer play the drums well, make the bassist play the bass well, make the key player play the piano well. Like, that's what you have to do. So that's where you gotta focus. So now let's just add a bunch of mid-bass synths. Ooh, something like this maybe. Yeah, let's just keep it simple for the sake of this little demo. Sometimes the length of the samples is not perfect, so if you have these stab basses, they can sometimes seem a little too short and too long, and I basically make my presets very effective that you can make them a bit more tight, and then you can slap that sub bass underneath to give it a proper pump. And I also have a bunch of sub bass presets, but not that many. This is like a more like a pumpy sub bass, so not specific for this one. Something like this, yep. Let's just make it play in the background. Also, this is a very high key, like the track, obviously drum and bass should be written in a lower key, so we can go a bit lower. Let's go one key lower. So -1, transposing everything, -1, -1. Okay, I forgot the lead, right? Transpose that as well. There you go. Keep in mind, guys, no editing, no mixing, already sounds good. Work on, you have to focus on working on synthesis, but maybe like for most people nowadays, you have to kind of like unlearn a lot of stuff because you go into complicated stuff. But if you look at the presets that I'm actually creating right here, and if you look at them, this is how a useful preset looks. It's one wavetable. You know what this wavetable is? I dropped in my own kick drum. If you look into the kicks, there's just a basic hi-hat and a bit of high-end added, and just a little bit of tube to make it a little bit more compressed. So if you look at the sub, it's just a sine wave with a little bit, like a couple of voices. There's nothing too big. The reeds is very basic. Everything I do like is very, very simple. You have to kind of like learn things backwards before you learn the synergy / Teddy Killers / someone like Pyrrhus type of synthesis. That stuff is not helpful if you're a beginner. That stuff is helpful for me because I've been producing for 22 years. But for someone like you, you can see you can use basic, really default synths. Look at this. Just a basic sawtooth. Just a basic sawtooth. Even the rees is a basic sawtooth. All of these are sawtooth. Every single sound is a sawtooth, or like a little kick wavetable, or like a little sine wave, and that's it. That's literally it. And then you can start complicating this by building, like, adding like layers to those sounds. That's where your like creativity should excel. That's where your unique character should come to life. But before all of that, just use good samples, good presets, and kind of like get better at making the melody work. Guys, I hope this video was helpful, and I try to provide as much information as possible in the shortest amount of time that I have, because yes, in 3 minutes I have to run off. Yeah, it's going to be fun working on another track with another student. That's my dream come true. That's the best job that I've ever had, and In case if you have some questions, if you want something, feel free to shoot at me. If you like this video and you want more of this content, go and subscribe to my Patreon. If you want a full course on how to create Dancefloor drum and bass, it's up there for 35 mother effing dollars a month. That's funny. Maybe there's a little bit of like tax by Patreon. I have no idea, to be fair. But hey, guys, it's not 200. It's not 300. That's what other people offer. Some people offer courses which cost like 3,000 mother effing euros, and I'm not joking. That's what happens every day. I see that. Like, people come to me saying, dude, I want your mentorship program, which is 30 euros a month, 30 euros per hour, because the other guys offered like 6,000 euros per like a month of some courses, which is insane, right? So I give you everything to receive very little in return. So guys, trust me, content is really good. And yeah, I'll see you in another video. Bye.